Today we're gonna make our family recipe for gingerbread cookies. This recipe has been in our family for generations, and it's packed with fat and sugar, but they turn into lovely cookies, and they end up at roughly 5 calories per gram, or roughly 30 calories per cookie. And if you want to eat the cookie dough, which is also awesome, it's 4 calories per gram. So they're packed with sugar and butter. We're gonna need 500 grams of syrup, and if you have the option of either light or dark syrup, we're gonna go for the dark one. And then we're gonna need 500 grams of that, and then we're also gonna need 500 grams of butter. And since I guess most of you won't make it to the end of this, I just want to say early on that I highly recommend putting these in the freezer and then just eating them directly from the freezer. I don't know why, it's just awesome. And it's the way I prefer to have my gingerbread cookies. But then we're gonna need 300 grams of sugar, and we're just gonna heat that, melt the butter and mix it together. And while that's heating up, we're gonna start looking at our spices. And for our spices, we're gonna need 4 teaspoons of cinnamon, then 4 teaspoons of ginger, and then we're gonna need 4 teaspoons of ground carnation. And finally, we're gonna need 4 teaspoons of baking soda. Then we're gonna take our spices and pour those into our melting butter, sugar and syrup mixture. And just mix everything together there. Traditionally in Sweden, you use a rolling pin and use some molds to create more exciting shapes for your gingerbread cookies. However, I'm not gonna do that with these. We're just gonna roll the dough up and cut them eventually. But just melt your butter, mix with sugar and syrup, and pour in your spices. And then it's time for our flour. And as I said, this recipe is gonna make a lot of cookies. So 1050 grams of flour, and then all we need to do is wait for our butter to melt, and once it has melted, we're gonna mix everything together. Now everything's melted, so we're just gonna pour in our fairly hot mixture in our flour, and this is gonna be quite heavy to stir, so you need a good spoon or anything to do that. Last year I broke the one I was using. So you need something that can handle a lot of force. It's going to be quite heavy. One other positive thing about keeping your cookies in the freezer is that they're going to last until next year. So you can have your gingerbread cookies all year if you like. And all we need to do, as you can see, just mix that together. Then we're going to leave it on the counter for a while to cool down. And then we're going to take some baking paper and just roll those into logs. And you can do them whatever size you'd like. I like to go for 3 basically large ones, and then we're gonna put them in the fridge, let them cool down a bit, because they're not gonna keep their shape while they're still fairly hot, so we want to cool them down a bit. So just pre-shape them, then we're gonna put them in the fridge for roughly an hour, and then and after that we can actually make them round. And now they've been in the fridge for an hour, and they're a bit more stiff and also a bit more flat because they didn't keep their shape. So once they're a bit cooler, we can push them down and roll them until they're a bit more round. And as you can see, it's a lot of fat in these, but they're lovely, and I actually hope you try them. And we're gonna go for 200 degrees in our oven. And to actually get our calories correct, we're just gonna cut off a piece, weigh that. So we're gonna weigh the cookie dough. We know that the cookie dough is 4 calories per gram, so we're just gonna measure this bit and see how much it weighs before and after we cook it. And the cookie dough for these gingerbread cookies, it's just amazing. Christmas for me is like sitting on the couch as a kid and my father coming with a big gingerbread cookie dough piece, and you just eat cookie dough until you feel sick, and it was awesome. So you should definitely try some dough as well. And they're gonna expand quite a bit, so we need to space them a bit. And you can keep them in the fridge for at least a week before you bake them. So just making the cookie dough and then keeping them in the fridge is no problem at all. So into the oven they go. We want them to be golden brown. If you burn them, they're not gonna be good at all. I forgot to time them, but I think it was roughly 6 minutes. And we want to aim for golden brown. They here, depending on how you want them, they can either be chewy or... Anyway, here are the other ones from our little test piece, just to see how much they reduce in weight. And then we're just gonna leave them to firm up a bit. And after weighing them, we can see that they've gone to 273 grams instead. And if you're interested, the dough is 2 kilograms and 360 grams to start off. And the dough is 10,200 calories if you eat everything. That means 4 calories per gram. And if we take 320 divided by our baked cookies, that's 273, we end up with 1.17. Meaning that we end up with 5 calories per gram. And that's it. I really hope you try these. And if you do, please let me know what you think of them. And I hope you enjoy. Merry Christmas to all.